You can respect opinions and dismiss judgment. An opinion is someone's perspective, and your willingness to listen to them might provide some insight into certain experiences or situations from another person's perspective or belief system. Judgment, on the other hand, is someone else's opinion of you and your circumstances based on their limited opinion, experience, and viewpoint. Right? So their opinions and their judgment is both limited. We talk about empathy as if, hey, you should put yourself in other people's shoes. Well, everybody's limited by their own viewpoint, by their own perspective, and so even empathy can only go so far. Whereas you have opinion and judgment, both are extremely limited. So you can accept people's opinions and reject or outright ignore their judgment. Because an opinion is their perspective, but a judgment is their belief of the limitations. And it's not worth giving up your self-belief and your self-worth for somebody else's acceptance of you and your behaviors. And that's where the opinion comes in. Maybe they do have some insight into the way you're behaving or the way that you're thinking or the way that you're believing, and maybe there's some value to that you have to consider. And that's why it's okay to accept opinions and accept advice. It doesn't mean that you have to do what they say. I remember when I was young, somebody that was close to me used to say, "Don't ask me for advice if you're not going to take it." Well, how do you know that the advice is right for me, though? I'm seeking advice because I respect you, but it's still my responsibility to make a decision that's right for me. And so that's very judgmental and disrespectful that I can only ask you advice if I take your advice. That's really arrogant. Because my life is my responsibility. I get it. At the time I was young and I was talking to somebody older than me. But even then, people who are older need to understand that people that are younger don't have the experience, and sometimes they need to figure it out for themselves. They can take the lessons, they can listen to the advice, and that's why this works both ways. You can give your opinion, but don't judge, because it's other people's responsibility to do their thing. And if they do the exact opposite that you give an opinion on or advice on, and it turns out bad, well, that's a lesson for them. You need to make sure that you're removing the judgment. Be there to support them. Say, okay, so what are we going to do now? I told you so. Like, depending on the relationship, right? But those are the kind of things that people say, like things like "I told you so," or "Don't ask me for advice unless you're going to take it." That comes from a place of pretty strong arrogance. And people who have good, strong relationships and with people younger or less experienced with them, they don't even have to be younger, same age, even older, just less experience. If you want those strong relationships and you want people to show you respect, you have to be respectable. And it's in the way that you approach this sometimes really difficult, blurred, gray area type words and behaviors and thought processes. Because even if you don't say anything, there still might be judgment, and I think eventually it's going to come out in the way that you think and you act. So I think it's really important to understand this idea of opinions and judgment. You can have opinions, but reserve the judgment. All right, save it. You don't want it, and other people don't need it from you. But if you have an opinion, if you have wisdom to share it. And the trouble that I have with some of these, as I mentioned earlier, is it seems like the closer you are to people, the more they feel like they have the right to treat you bad. They have the right to say things like, don't ask me for advice if you're not going to take it, or I told you so, or wow, that was a real stupid thing to do. There tends to be this judgment and this belief that I'm close to you, your family, we have a history together, so therefore I have a right to treat you bad. And that is so unhealthy. And I've gotten to the point where I've removed people from my life. I don't talk to people that you would think that I should, because their opinion is the old school blood is thicker than water. Well, is it? If you're really going to treat me, you're going to continuously treat me bad, you're going to disrespect me, you're going to judge me, but then your behaviors suck, right? You're not being respectable for this, so therefore you don't deserve my respect. And then even further than that, your behavior is so bad, I don't even want to be around you. Because if you weren't family, if you were a friend or a business associate, coworker, neighbor, and you acted like that, you might not even get a second chance. That's not okay. But for some reason, because you think because you're family, you think you have the right to treat me that. You have the right to give your opinion and your advice and judgment. And no, and it's not okay. I'm okay with the opinion. I see this with people with relationships, friends or family. Will see somebody in a relationship that maybe they don't think is very healthy. They don't like or appreciate the other person, especially when it comes to marriage. Somebody's been married once or twice, and they're doing the marriage thing again, and the one person is like, well, I think I should talk to it. Like, are they making another mistake? I don't know if this person is right for them. Okay, well, they've made the mistake before. Maybe you can give the opinion if you feel comfortable, but do it in a way that still leaves the decision up to the other person. Don't make them feel like you're trying to convince them of something, because it's their life, it's their decision. It has to be, because if they're going to take responsibility for it, they can't do it out of spite. You're like, well, I'm going to show them, I'm going to do it anyway, or end up not doing it and then regretting it and saying, well, I do think they were the right person for me. It has to be their responsibility. They have to have accountability for that. If you feel comfortable and confident, give your opinion, but reserve the judgment. Likewise, if somebody is trying to give you an opinion, then they feel strongly about something. Ask them for the opinion, but be outright. I'm going to listen to you, but eventually ultimately it has to be my decision. And I need you to go ahead and give me your advice, but understand I'm going to do what's best for me based on the information that I have. And I need you to be okay with that. And that is a really direct, strong statement, but still shows respect for people's opinions and advice. How they act and they accept that, or their lack of acceptance is on them. You can't do anything about that. But at least make the statement for your benefit, for your self-worth, and then and realizing that the accountability is yours as long as you take it. So you can accept people's opinions, and you can throw away the judgment.